And welcome to Nug Life Podcast. I am your host, Dan Wetstein, and as always, with me, my co-host, Santiago Salazar. We are here to talk about your Nuggets. A second time this week, we're blasting y'all with the content. How we doing today, my man?
Oh, we're doing great, man. It's the weekend. Got Nuggets basketball here in a little bit.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
and it's home basketball, too. So it's always good to see that mile high on the court. I'm sorry I got a new backdrop, baby stuff back here. So, it's something different.
You all right, brother. You all right. As long as you here, that's all we care about. So the Nuggets did have a little bit of a stumble against the OKC Thunder, but we're able to hold on, and we got to see the side of Jamal Murray we have been waiting for. Blue Arrow was on point. Black literally said he blacked out in the second half. Don't remember nothing of what happened. How close are we to seeing the threat of him dropping 40 a night?
Yeah, the scary part about that is what he was doing in that Thunder game. It's not even, his peak or his ceiling. So the league just has to be on the lookout, not just Nuggets Nation. Once Jamal Murray gets back to that peak level, that 40 point per game level, like you're talking about, a 40 point per game, but every other night, that'd be insane to do it per game.
Right.
But I wouldn't
But the
doubt it though.
threat is there every night. I get what you're saying.
But how far is he from those performances? We're not far from it. It's definitely been a weird season so far, especially that OKC game. I know we'll get more into it, but another just third quarter breakdown completely. I think it's more of a question that when are the Nuggets gonna, be able to bring the best out of their star players, because once the team starts getting it together, everyone just seems like they're on point the whole night. They manifest that into fruition, and they have a good game, I think, against the Spurs, a home game, a Spurs team tonight who is not really, experienced. Uh, but we've seen the Nuggets go down to some unexperienced teams, so tonight should be another test and see how if Jamal can do it in back-to-back games.
Yes, I believe that Jamal Murray is ahead of schedule. I did not see him putting together performances like he did, excuse me, against OKC until probably December, like somewhere around Christmas is where I really saw the rust falling off and the threat of Blue Arrow just destroying everything in his path would take, like I said, until Christmas. But he's already doing it, and we're in the first week of November. This man had 14 points in the final 12 minutes of that game. That was the difference. That's where Denver went from barely hanging on and keeping it even with OKC with a yet another terrible third quarter, and the game flipped when Jamal's switch flipped. It was beautiful to watch, and like you said, we haven't seen the best of him, but it's still good enough to get that redonkulous reverse jam on two fools. Like that was the most unbelievable thing I have seen in at least the last 2 years of basketball.
What's funny is I keep saying it to myself though, but pre-injury Jamal, that would have even had more energy to it. This is post-injury Jamal, and he's still doing things like that. They're dropping your jaw. He's a under the radar, quiet kind of guy. Like he's not a Devin Booker. He's one of these outspoken, loud guys. I think he just lets his gameplay or talk more than he actually does talk, and he is just a vicious guy on the court. It might be the quiet killer instinct of a lot of these Canadian players that they carry with themselves, and whenever you hear them talk, you kind of want to laugh because they do sound like Patrick Mahomes or Kermit the Frog. You never expect Jamal Murray to, the way he talks, you never expect him to have that killer instinct, but he does. And I always tell everyone that John Calipari said he's the best scorer he's ever coached, and that's coming from a guy who's coached John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins, Devin Booker, Karl Anthony Towns, and out of all of them, he says Jamal Murray is their best scorer. So it's unfortunate this injury got him to where he was, where he had to rehabilitate it for 18 months, and to see him come back and, like you said, ahead of schedule. Now I think he might have some nights where he might be a little rusty, being consistent, might be on one night, off the next, but not too many of those, because we will see that perennial all-star Jamal Murray here very soon on a nightly basis.
Yes, I agree. And to your point of him being a humble superstar, that's an understatement. People should talk about him in the way that he creates on the offensive end, the way that they talk about Kyrie. Like he is
No,
honestly,
I
I
don't. I
think
don't. I don't think
that
anyone wants to talk about Kyrie right now.
well, that's what I'm saying is like that's my point. Is like the only reason people are talking about Kyrie is because he's a fool and talks out of his you know
Out
what
of his lane.
constantly. So that's why his name is always on people's lips instead of the reason that Jamal Murray should be, which is simply because the guy can ball instead of the guy can ball as in cry about
Yeah.
every little thing that happens in his life. So this I'm hoping that this will be the season that people stop talking about Kyrie and start talking about Jamal and keep it on the court instead of all this other BS that surrounds that fool. But speaking of another superstar and being humble, Jokic goes out and gets another triple double. I mean, yes, it was barely, I think it was what, 13, 13, and 11, if I remember correctly off the top of my head. But was he enough in this game for what
I
the
think
Nuggets
he was definitely. And to your point, of him getting another triple double, he passed Wilt Chamberlain for the all time big man in triple doubles. And the great Wilt Chamberlain, who that's another stat probably 10 years ago you'd have never thought would have been broken. Russell
right?
Westbrook kind of uh, established the triple double being kind of kind of stat. Because before it used to be like, wow, he got a triple double. Most in the season would probably be 5 or 6, and guys like Westbrook and Jokic they're getting 10 to 20 in a season on average. So the triple double itself has become something more of a trend in mainstream media basketball, something that is not as I would say exclusive to get as it was 10 to 5 years ago. But a great performance by Jokic. Now, to answer your question, was it enough? I think it was. Just this team as a unit has to be more effective in the defensive end, especially coming out after halftime. They've had too many hangover-like post-halftime performances coming out in the third quarter. And some of it is Jokic, his main flaw is being a little slower on the defensive end. However, when you got a guy who's putting up numbers like that, there should be no reason why that isn't enough for you to win the game.
Correct. Yes. Was it the flashiest of triple doubles? No. And I got the numbers in front of me here, so I'll give you the exact ones. It was 15 points, 13 rebounds, 14 assists. But the biggest number that points out to me that it was enough is his plus 15 rating. That's what makes it enough. It might not, again, be a 40-point triple double or a 30-point triple double like he typically does. But when you add in the fact that he was efficient, he was 6 of 9 from the field, 3 of 3 from free throws, didn't take a single 3-pointer. So therefore, ended up with just the 15 points, 13 rebounds, and 14 assists. It shows you that he was finding the open guy, creating plays for his teammates, and his teammates were hitting the shots. You hate when Jokic facilitates and nobody's hitting the shots. You love it when he's hitting his shots, also facilitating, and the rest of the guys follow suit. That is the blueprint for the Nuggets. It is not Jokic having to score all the points. It's Jokic taking all of the attention from the other team and then allowing his teammates to do their job and then them executing.
Well, credit to guys like Jamal Murray and not just him, but Aaron Gordon. When you got Aaron Gordon going off early in the first quarter, he finished the game, I believe, with 26 or 27. You don't
27,
need a
yes.
40-point triple double out of your superstar Nikola Jokic. You don't need that. So when other guys are actually scoring the ball, which is great to see because that was the Achilles heel for this team in the postseason when they played the Warriors, is you couldn't find no one to really score the ball. You never had a true second or third option. So seeing guys like Jamal and AG go out there and get 220+ games is really a exhale, honestly, if you're a Nuggets fan, because you actually got guys outside of Nikola Jokic who are becoming dependable scorers.
Yes.
I mean, we all
This
know
is
Jamal has been a dependable scorer, but him to be back, it's just so
yes.
refreshing.
Exactly. I know exactly where you were going with. I appreciate you clarifying there at the end. But yes, 6 Nuggets were in double digits. If you're doing that, then it alleviates all of the pressure off of Jokic, where he doesn't have to score 30 or 40 points for the Nuggets to have a chance or to dominate a team. Again, the Nuggets won by over 20 points against a team in a game where Jokic only scored 15 points. So that shows you that the guys around him were scoring, and it wasn't a Bones Highland. Bones was on the bench in street clothes in this game. He did not play a single minute, but then you have the alleviation of a Bruce Brown that can come in and get you 15 points, 9 assists, 5 rebounds off of the bench. You got Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who is somehow shooting at a 55% clip from behind the arc, which is actually leading the team. Despite the fact that he is 5th in points, he's still leading the team in 3-point shooting. You would love to see him play better defense. And another bit of an anomaly is the fact that when Bruce Brown's in the game, the defense goes down. And when MPJ is in the game, the defense goes up. So I'm thinking that's a small sample size weirdness that we're seeing in the early season, but it is what it is right now. It seems like for some reason, even though MPJ might look terrible on the defensive end, somehow it comes out in the end as a net positive. I don't know how that works, but that's the way that it's going right now. But yeah, this team playing as a team, and this is going to be crucial going forward. Everybody was complaining last year about the fact that Jokic was having to do everything on his own. And now he's not doing it all on his own. And people are complaining that he's only scoring 15 points. It's like, dude, what is wrong with humans? Like, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Like, it's physically impossible.
There's actually people complaining about that?
Yes, dude.
Are you serious?
Yes, and it's not just fans. Like, there are literal other pundits and other stations that, I mean, it's driving me nuts. Like, people always, like I get it, especially in the back end from some of our, we'll say, previous my previous instructors about how hard I be going at some of these folks here in the local media, but I can't help it, dude. I cannot help it. I cannot help it when I see journalists not being journalists.
Yeah.
When I see people that are doing and saying things simply for the fact of getting a rise out of fans and getting some clicks, I can't stand that. I can't do it. This is why I'm in this industry, is to stop that BS. And so, yes, it is definitely happening. And so that's why we are addressing it.
For all them, I mean, exactly what you said. They're doing it. My bad. I'm sending my wife some money for the store. My bad. But
you're all right, brother.
They're doing it just for clicks, just for, it's like clickbait kind of content. The fact that Jokic, he gets 15 points, but he has 14 assists. I mean, that's what you want. If he's not going to score the ball, he's obviously doing something else. He's not having to do everything. And the fact that Aaron Gordon is not your only star player out there now. You have guys like MPJ and Jamal back. So that means, Aaron Gordon on a nightly basis was not a real threat in the offensive game when scoring the basketball. He would take a night off. And so, now when he does take a night off, you have a Jamal Murray, you have a MPJ that can go out there and pick up the slack. And, Aaron Gordon here and there will have his big game. And he had that on Thursday, and it complemented Nikola Jokic's game. And that's why he didn't have to go out there for 30 or 40, as I keep saying, and why he got 14 assists. And his plus minus, as you said, was plus 15. And, that's a stat to where it's showing the differential in points when you're on the floor. And it shows that the Nuggets were a 15-point better team than compared to when he was off the floor to when he was on it.
Yes, exactly. It's showing the offensive efficiency of the team while he is on the court. And that's the key, is like, he doesn't have to score as long as the rest of the team is being efficient. If they're not being efficient, that's when you want to see him taking the shots. But as long as he's dishing and they're making, there should be no complaints. Just let the man be. And this is why I told fans before the season started not to get your hopes up on a three-peat of the MVP, is not because Jokic would be worse. It's just because his supporting cast is so much better. His numbers are going to take a hit. And so he's not going to have another season of numbers like he did last year, which were numbers nobody had ever saw before, not because he got worse, but because his team got better. So just deal with the fact that his numbers might be worse when the Nuggets are winning. If they're not winning, then we can have a discussion about what his numbers might be. But as long as the Nuggets are winning, just get off your high horse and stop being insufferable. But Speaking of horses, we're moving on to San Antonio and the Spurs, a home and home series going on tonight and on Monday with the Nuggets. The Nuggets are heavy favorites in both games. Should they be?
They're playing them back to back?
Yep. And they play
Really?
in Denver tonight, and then they play in San Antonio on Monday.
Okay. Well, this is, as I was telling you before the show, or if I said it in the show, I don't know. I'm too worried about T-bone steak right now. But this is I want to make sure
Don't
she gets
blame
the
me.
right one, man. My bad.
Right.
But this is an inexperienced San Antonio Spurs team, but with a lot of young talent. I know they moved DeJounte Murray in the offseason. That was their best player. The Spurs were coming off a year where they barely made a playing game. And I mean, it's kind of hard seeing Greg Popovich out there because, he's just so accustomed to, these contenders and having Tim Duncan and Tony Parker and Kawhi Leonard and at least having some kind of superstar that would keep them in contention. Now, I know they've been a bit removed from those years. Seeing Popovich, though, with these like lackluster teams, or kind of seeing Bill Belichick out there, but you care for Greg Popovich because he's more of a nicer guy. He's not Darth Maul out there or one of these evil Star Wars characters,
Yeah. I guess
But
it depends on who you were, because there's a lot in the media that can't stand Popovich, but
oh yeah,
it tends to be the guys we can't stand either. So I guess take that with a grain of salt.
I heard a story is, Popovich, he messes with the media. He knows, like he respects for a lot
He
of people
does.
media, but he is a sarcastic. He's a smart ass, And there was where he
Yes.
made a smart remark to a female media member, and she was within the Denver media, and she came up after they were done asking questions, and she came up herself and like, what was that? What the hell was that? I'm just trying to do my job. And he actually respected her for that. I can't remember who she was. Josh Dober from Altitude told me this story. I
I
can't
want to
remember
say it
the.
was Katie Wingy, wasn't it?
It might have been. I don't remember uh, who or what female anchor it was, but he went and told her when she walked up to him. He said he respected her because he clowns on a lot of these guys in a male dominant profession, and for her to go up there with her girl power and actually confront him compared to a lot of these other sissy cats who claim to be media personnel. I think everyone just takes Popovich as this curmudgeonly kind of guy, and I don't think he is. He's just a smart
Yeah.
ass, and you gotta have some kind of guts to actually go up there and confront him about it afterwards.
Yeah, I think he's created a persona for the
Yeah,
media, and he really enjoys that persona,
yeah,
and he enjoys jacking with people because, yeah, I've heard, like I said, there's some people, there seems to be people that have issues with him, but it's always the people that tend to have issues with everybody. It's the ones that are entitled, that feel like they somehow are entitled to an interview or a sound bite at every moment, no matter when they ask it, how they ask it, no matter how inconvenient it is. If they're asking for you to give them an interview, you better give them an interview, because otherwise, you're just an old curmudgeon POS that hates the media. How dare you not let me do my job? Like, those are typically the guys that I seem to see have an issue with Popovich. So I tend to lean your way. I think it's just more of a persona, and he's just enjoyed it for so long. Why change it now? He's kind of like that.
no,
I guess you could say he's an old curmudgeon in that way. He's set in his ways. He likes to mess with people. It kind of reminds me of my dad. My dad's the same way. He just loves to screw with people. That's just what he does, especially as an
no.
old man. He doesn't care anymore.
That's
So,
the best thing I think though about sports is, and I think as fans and media we take it for granted because we're so privileged to it, but actually being able to go and interview these players and coaches after they just got done battling. I mean, especially, and you shouldn't be shocked when you get a rude answer anyway. If you're questioning a guy who just lost, I mean, that's like someone coming to you. If you had a bad day in the office, you're not going to be in the best mood to want to answer these people, someone trying to question you. So you got to give credit to the ones who actually do go up there and give their answers, because there's a lot of people out there who will give you the smart ass comment, the, you know, type of Bill Belichick short answer, a Baker Mayfield type where they tell you and criticize you just because you're doing your job. So give credit to guys like Popovich. He's going to do his thing and just mess with you. And I think we just have to move, as media personnel, have to move on. The ones who take it personal. I see right through it. I know he's just messing around. So that's probably the
Right.
most
Just stop
the
being
biggest.
sensitive, people. That's what it boils down
Yeah,
to.
exactly.
So, but back to the question: should the Nuggets be such
My
heavy
bad.
favorites over the
I don't
Spurs?
I don't know where I went off about Greg
Oh, you're
Popovich.
good.
I
We
just
both did, brother. I just had to bring it back.
that's why we have you, because you can bring us back. You
Yeah,
know,
there
you
you
bring
go.
I just drift off to something else, and I don't even. Next thing you know, we're talking about T-bone steaks again.
Just
But
doing my job, brother.
but say the question again. I know it's about the Spurs, but
Why are the Nuggets? Should the Nuggets be heavy favorites over the Spurs in both games?
oh yeah, I think not as heavy favorites as in San Antonio, because sometimes when you get the living crap beat out of you, you want to all right redeem yourself, and yeah, the
Or like the
Spurs
first
are.
game of the season in Utah?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But I would take it reverse though. I think the Spurs might. It's the NBA, man. Teams go out there and they get, and especially with young guys they have who can run the floor. I could take to see the Spurs winning that second game. I don't see the Nuggets losing tonight though. Just after the performance Jamal had and such a all around team performance. That's why you saw Jokic get 14 assists against the Thunder. So after that game, I think the momentum will keep going into the two tonight, and the Nuggets will get an easy home win. Now we've said that a couple times, and it turns out they win, but it's not easy. I'm saying tonight they're going to get a good, easy win, though, back on the home floor, being able to run in the mile high. The second game, though, might be a more gritty to where it might go in the Spurs' favor. I could see it. Just the Nuggets have never been the sexiest or greatest away team, especially on games where you're only coming back home for only one game. So I see the Nuggets being heavy favorites tonight, as they are. But Monday, is it Monday they play?
Yes.
Yeah, Monday I could see the Spurs. The books might have them as the underdog, but I don't think they should be much of an underdog.
Yeah, tonight the books have the Nuggets as anywhere between a 550 to 650 point favorite,
Mm.
and on Monday that changes between 450 and 550. So they are giving them a little bit of a little bit of credit for being at home, but I think the inexperience of the San Antonio Spurs is a very young team. Their top two scorers were drafted in the first round in 19 and 20. So obviously very, very young kids, but very experienced head coach. He is going to have his team as ready as possible. And he's already got these two guys, Johnson and Vassell, the ones I was just talking about, drafted in 19 and 20, their first round picks. These were guys that weren't drafted in the lottery. These guys were drafted in the middle to the late of the first rounds. A lot in the ilk of the Denver Nuggets and their front office finding those late round gems. So Popovich is going to bring this team to play. They are not a pushover. They are just one game below 500, I believe.
Yeah, I mean,
no, they are a game above 500. I apologize. They are 5-4, not 4-5.
They've had an impressive early start.
Yes, they're learning to win, even at a young age, and with Popovich, that's not too much of a surprise. So the Nuggets, despite the fact of being such large overdogs. What in the world? I
mean,
watched way too
technically
many
you're right.
Technically,
You're right. They're not an underdog. They're overdog.
Came in my head as I was speaking, and I don't know why that just came out of my mouth, but that's great. I've never said that before in my life.
But you're not wrong. You're not wrong. They're overdogs.
Yes, I know I'm not wrong, but that sounds so weird and dumb in my head. Like I don't even know where that came from. But anyways, the favorites.
Favorites, games, yeah. There you go. There you go.
That's the word. I don't know how we went from favorites
overdog
to
favorites.
but we did that, people. We did that. I'm so messed up with that right now.
Man.
All right. So Johnson and Vassell, both averaging over 20 points per game. The Spurs are 5-4. This could be a trap game, but with it being at Ball Arena, I'm with you. I'm not confident enough to sit here and be like they're way overlooking the Spurs, because I believe they have enough respect for Popovich not to do so. So with that being said, Johnson and Vassell, 20 points per game, young kids out here just balling it, having as much fun as they can. Have they been a surprise to you this early in the season?
When you have a Greg Popovich-led team, don't be surprised he gets this production out of these young players. You look who Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker were. They weren't early picks. They were overseas guys, and he got the best out of them. Greg Popovich is one of those coaches who will get the best out of his players no matter where, if they're undrafted, if they're late round picks, whatever. I know there's a story from Steven Jackson from the podcast All the Smoke. He said Popovich, like before a game, went and told him, like, that guy's better than you, but I'm only going to give you minutes tonight because you've been, just being like how Popovich is, just a smartass. And it pissed off Steven Jackson. He went out there and dropped 30, and he said, I know you were better than him. And he walked out, like, just so how many players you think that Steven or Greg Popovich is doing this to, especially young guys? This was Steve Jackson in year 13, I think, and he was still doing it to
motivator.
him. So I don't know if it's a motivator. It's just a way to piss you off. Like, all right,
I
you
mean,
think?
Hey, that's what I'm saying. Like, he knows how to motivate. He realized pissing off Steven Jackson would work. With another player, he might have coddled him. He might have said something nice to him. Like, that's why I'm saying he's a master motivator, because there's stories like this that vary from all types of players. Like the one you just said of Steven Jackson. Tim Duncan talked about how he motivated him with different speeches and stuff before games and things that, or videos for who was the other guy with Tim Duncan? Oh, why am the other big
Dave
guy?
Robinson?
Dave Robinson, there you go. God, I couldn't, but yes, like showing him different videos. And so like he always knows his players. He knows what buttons to push, and he always pushes the right one. Like, I know you keep pointing out the Belichick point of view. That is a perfect comp when you're going cross sports. Popovich is the NBA's version of Bill Belichick. And that is why you were sitting here with us talking about them still being a winning team with a bunch of guys. I can guarantee nobody outside of us or San Antonio would be able to tell you off the top of their head.
What you should do is go YouTube some, well, everyone should do, some of the viewers, go YouTube Greg Popovich mic'd up. You see how this guy coaches.
Yes.
And he's just like, all right, next person to go miss a free throw out there is going to buy me a new car. And like, you think that's a joke, but he knows how much these guys get paid. Right. You think he's messing around. And no one wants to miss that free throw. You should have seen him. There's that one where he coaches the All-Star game, and no, it's not an All-Star game. It's just a regular season game, and they go and they do a hack-a-shack right away, the first play, and everyone's just looking around like, what the? And you just see Popovich just over there, puts the thumbs up, 2 thumbs up to Shaq, like, yeah, you know what it is, like, hey.
we starting off rip, buddy.
Hey, but you know what's great about Popovich too is he has such a personal connection with Nikola Jokic. I don't know if that's going to work in our favor, because Popovich has, I believe, been a coach of the Serbian team or has helped coach some of their practices. I don't know.
They have some type of connection there. I can't remember exactly how.
And so I don't know if he's going to use it at his advantage tonight and tell his team what Nikola does. But I already know how great Nikola Jokic is. You bring anything to him, he's going to be able to make his plus minus, as you said, look beautiful. So bring it on, San Antonio. Tonight will be our night. You guys can maybe have Monday, because I feel like we're going to beat the living crap out of him.
He helped coach his Euro Hoops team. That's
okay.
What it is.
Okay.
So I had to look it up. I had to know what it was. So yes, but no, I'm 100% with you. I don't got anything to add there. Now, does the Spurs' center, and I know I'm going to butcher this. I can never say this guy's name.
Was it Jakob Poeltl?
Poeltl. There you go. Thank you. Have any chance of containing Jokic?
Was it a game last year? I don't know if it was in San Antonio or Denver, but Poeltl was on Jokic, and he was giving him a rough time. Now, he's not going to do that on a nightly basis, but I don't know what it was when he played Jokic that game that he was just so disturbing on the defensive end. Jokic, those beautiful floaters he was usually getting, he was having trouble. So, guys don't forget players that they played against and who they've had bad games against in the past. So I think Jokic knows that. He's going to come in an aggressive attack mode tonight. All this bullcrap people have been saying about him, apparently, that you brought to my attention, Jokic is just going to have to shut him up. I mean, it's more embarrassing when your local media is this guy's already disrespected nationally for being a back-to-back MVP, and there's no reason why he should. And now the local media, like, it's just so frustrating, man.
It really is. It's insane. And I agree with you. Everybody needs to shut up, and Jokic is going to make them shut up. It's just a matter of time. Right now, he's not having again to throw out a 30 or 40 point triple double. He can throw out a triple double of 15, 13, and 14, and it'll be just fine. But there are going to be games where he does have to go off because Jamal's off or MPJ's off or they're both having a night off or whatever the case may be. There are going to be those nights, and he will show you that that is always in the reservoir. But to be a championship team in the NBA, you have to have more than one superstar. And the Nuggets have at least three. We can make the case for at least four. But, and with that being the case, is this the team that the Nuggets defense can get right against? This is a team that is dead last in turnovers per game. They are only 11th in assist to turnover ratio. They're 19th in field goal percentage and 19th in rebounds per game. So can the Nuggets finally start bodying somebody?
They should. Now, oh my God, these headphones. But they should. I mean, it's been long enough for us as fans and everyone outside watching this Nuggets team to see them actually go out there and be effective on the defensive end the way they should be. Now, the Nuggets defense has been terrible, but in this early season, which team hasn't? Like, I haven't really seen any much low-scoring games. Everyone just is scoring the ball at a high rate, and the Nuggets are one of those teams. They gave up 110 to OKC on Thursday. They gave up 120-something to the Lakers. Was it 135 to the Portland Trailblazers? So it doesn't look beautiful on paper. But when you have players like KCP, Bruce Brown, Nikola Jokic, whose defense has improved over the years, and a defensive-minded coach like Michael Malone, a good defender in AG when he wants to be. Don't be surprised when this team starts getting it together and locking down teams. We just don't know when it is because we haven't seen a performance. It can happen any night at any time. So, I mean, right now, the bet on the Nuggets having a good defensive game, I would put as an even one just because, you know, we have seen so many terrible defensive performances by them. I think they're going to get sick and tired of it, and so is Malone, that they're just going to have to come out. But we don't know when it is going to be just because of the way the NBA has gone this season with all these high-scoring teams and games.
I agree. We don't know when it's going to be, but I have a feeling we might start seeing it tonight. I do believe that this is the type of team that the Nuggets can start to get into a groove defensively. It goes to a little weird stat I gave earlier is that when MPJ's on the floor, the defense goes up, but yet when Bruce Brown, the defensive expert, is on the floor, it goes down. Mm-hmm. And then it's the opposite offensively. When MPJ's on the floor, the offense dies. And when Bruce Brown's on the floor, the offense thrives. So this is a lot to do with small sample size, guys getting comfortable with each other, learning who switches, how they switch. They do a lot of zone defense here in Denver. So you really got to know and trust the guy next to you that they are going to switch to the right guy. They're going to cover the right zone, and they're not going to leave you hanging, which unfortunately they've all done to each other at this point for extended stretches. It typically seems to be in the third quarter for whatever reason. That just seems to be their Achilles heel.
For like the last year and a half, it feels like, man.
It really has.
Like,
they are bizarro warriors in the third quarter. It makes no sense.
Well, that OKC game is like almost identical. If Jamal doesn't go off, that game's almost as identical as the Portland game because the Nuggets got on a 21-4 lead to open the game again. They went on the crazy. But it is the NBA. Like, this is a game where runs are just created and go. You know, a team can go off and get hit 8 straight buckets, 8 times 2, and maybe throw a 3-pointer in there. That's a 17-0 run, and they're back in this thing. So the Nuggets have been on the bad side of some of those runs, but they've been also on the good side of that. They just need to find a balance to where they don't let that third quarter come and haunt them the way it has these last couple of years. You know what's funny, though, about that MPJ offensive stat, it being, you said a small sample size, and this is a perfect example why. So MPJ is tied with this other player for the highest three-point efficiency to start off with his first 500 attempts in their career. Can you guess who that player is?
That I don't know.
It's 41.2% in his first 500 three-point attempts.
Seth Curry?
Yeah, Steph Curry. So that shows
I
how
just threw it out. That was pure luck. I had no idea.
I kind of wanted to make it more of a mysterious,
I
but
was
all right, I
trying.
guess just go
I
ahead.
was like, who was the best 3-pointer I could think of off the top of my head? It was either Steph or Clay. Those were two choices, and I just went with Steph. I was like,
You
okay,
know,
let's try it.
the fact though that he's in the same conversation as Steph shows
I'm saying,
like is
and he's
proof.
6'10", not 5'10". I don't care
Oh,
what they say about Steph Curry. He's not 6 foot. I'm sorry.
uh, they say Steph is like 6'3", man.
There's no way.
There's no way. I say more like 6'1", maybe 6.
Maybe six
You
six
know,
one.
he
Yeah,
looks like
there's no
Iverson
way.
out there, and Iverson was like 5'10",
Look at him
5'11".
next to Murray. Murray's 6'5". You cannot tell me he's only 2 inches shorter than
Yeah,
Murray.
that's crazy.
That's
Yeah,
not
that's
happening. Or
you
2 inches shorter than Jordan. No way.
what was it? Who's MPJ? He's what they relate him a lot to KD. So he's just
Yeah.
before we get back on track, here's this crazy KD story about height. So the reason I know you've seen it in past years, people exposing KD's actual height of being a 7-footer, but he's listed at 6'8", 6'9". I mean, he stands right next to DeMarcus Cousins, and he's like taller than DeMarcus Cousins by an inch. Well, the story of that was when Kevin Durant was being drafted in the combine in 07. If you said you were 7 foot, you were going to play center. Like there was no ifs, ands, or buts. They didn't care what your play style was. If you were that height, they were going to put you there. So he lied about his height and said, I'm 6'8", I'm 6'9". He wanted to play small forward. That's what his game was. Now, obviously, people knew he wasn't, but they just saw they never heard of a stretch 5 or a stretch 4 at that time. That was right before any of stretching the ball with big man, spacing the floor with big man was really being used in games. So everyone just put him at the small forward, and it's just so crazy that a 7-foot wing, like man, the way he moves, playing the 2, playing the 3, and then you throw him up there to play the 5. I mean, he plays like a long, lanky. I would. Bol almost. If Bol had some skill, more meat to him, then you would get Kevin Durant. As skinny as Kevin Durant is, he's nowhere near what Bol is. He's 2 inches taller than him, but Bol is a frail frame, man. He is, oh my God, like a stick figure pretty much, literally.
Skin and bones, literally.
Literally. Now, I just thought that was a fun story to brought up. We brought up height,
No,
but
that
let's
is
get
really
back.
cool. No, you're good. Yeah, no, that's a really cool story about Katie and that. I did not know that story. But real quick, before we move on to Indy predictions tonight, I'm going with the Nuggets. I say they win 120-100.
Yeah, I was trying to look to see if anyone was out. To me, it looks like, now you could correct me on this, that everyone's in healthy. AG,
Yep.
Jamal,
Everybody,
MPJ.
all starters. The only
Yeah.
injuries right now for the Nuggets are Zeke, Bones, and Ish.
Okay, so that's why Bones was in street clothes. He was.
Yes.
I just thought
He's
they
got
were
a
resting him, but
hip injury. Hip injury.
okay, so we should see a lot of Brown tonight, then, huh?
Yes, we're going to see a lot more
Brown. All right,
he's going to play the backup point guard because both backup point guards are out right now.
I want to see this team actually. MPJ was out that OKC game, wasn't he? Or did he play?
MPJ, I do believe, played. I will double check.
Well, this is another game where, what was it, last year that we only played? Or it was not even last year. It was the year before that because Jamal was out the entire year.
Yeah, MPJ played 29 minutes against OKC.
That this team, before Jamal had got hurt, because they just traded for Aaron Gordon, they've only played, 17 to like 20 minutes or something like that altogether. So actually seeing these guys on the floor all together is something special, something that we've waited for. It's been anticipation for almost a year and a half while MPJ and Jamal were getting healthy. So don't take it for granted. I would, catch these games just because we've missed out on this personnel and not having these guys on the floor. Catch each one of these games because it's something that as a fan base we've missed out on for the last year, man.
I agree. Yeah, get in all these games. Enjoy every single moment that you get to see these 4 guys on the court together because this is one of the best starting 5 in the league. And I'm not just saying that from a biased perspective. This is literally one of the best teams in the league. So if you are not enjoying this basketball, I need you to check your pulse because you might be dead. So again, tonight we're both going with the Spurs, or sorry, the Nuggets
No,
over
man. I'm
the
gonna say
Spurs.
what?
Monday, I'm also taking the Nuggets. I just think that they're on a bit of a roll here. Jamal's hitting that stride. Jokic is trusting him and MPJ the way that he did before the injuries. It's going to start getting nasty. These games are going to start getting ugly. I have a 20-point win tonight. I see them winning by at least 15 on Monday. That one's going to be a little bit different, though. I think it's going to be 110-95.
Yeah, tonight I could see it go in your direction of 120, 100. But I won't be boring. I'll make up my own score. We'll do 115-95.
Okay.
We'll go to Spurs under 100. That game starts at 7, so if right after this, go hop on it, go watch it, do what you do.
18 minutes from now. Yep. Stick with us for 18 minutes, and then we'll get you. We're going to ride you straight into the game.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So it's a party downtown tonight. Saturday night basketball home game. Go catch it while you can.
Avalanche already won earlier in Finland, so let's go ahead and get this two-peat tonight. Denver.
Back-to-back days. Back-to-back.
Back-to-back. They won 6-3 yesterday, 5-1 today. So they dominated the Blue Jackets in Finland. I guess Mikko was like, bro, you're not coming in my backyard and taking out my team.
Oh, completely. I mean, they were playing the Blue Jackets. They were playing the Blue Jackets, though.
But still going international. You know how jet lag and that stuff works. But Avalanche were not playing. Mikko was not letting it happen. He got a hat trick yesterday in his home country in front of his family members that had never seen him play in the NHL. That was absolutely awesome. So let's go ahead and run it back. That's 3 wins in a row by Denver teams. Let's make it 4 in a row. Well, actually 5 if you want to include the Broncos in London. The last time they played. So let's go. Let's do this.
Let's go.
Let's keep it running. Again, next up we have Indy, and I don't know where my voice is going all of a sudden. I apologize, guys, but I'm going to push through. We got about 18 more minutes to go. So if I lose it completely, hey, whatever. It'll happen during the game, and I just won't be able to scream at the TV. That's the worst that'll happen.
Might be a good thing. Huh?
It might be. It might be. Who knows? But moving on to the Indiana Pacers. Excuse me. Can Halliburton, Mathurin, and Hield lead the Pacers back to being contenders?
Now, I'm not gonna lie to you or fake anything. I don't know much about the Pacers, man. Like, I haven't paid attention to Pacer basketball. I know Halliburton and Hield are 2 acquisitions they traded for last year at the deadline for Sacramento. I know Halliburton's a hell of a player, and Hield has always been a nice type of shooter. But other than that, I mean, the Pacers they're a rebuilding team. That's obviously why I haven't really heard much of Indiana. This is a team the Nuggets should take care of business. I know they have Miles Turner, but is Miles Turner hurt? I think he might be. Or
he might
no?
Be hurt now. He's averaging 13 points. Let me check the injury report.
And he's been one of those names that.
The only ones on the injury report are Chris Duarte and Daniel Thies.
Okay, yeah, Chris Duarte is actually a hell of a good player too. You got some Spanish pride, in the league, that we don't really have much of. So, I like Chris Duarte. He's, I think I saw that tweet from the Woj. He was out for 4 to 6 weeks. So, I'm lying to you. I know a little bit about the Pacers, I guess. I don't have no record, though, or who's their leading scorer. I know Halliburton. Huh? Why'd you look like Uncle Sam right there for a minute?
I kind of did. God damn, Sam wants you to not lie to the people.
A spitting image, but I don't have their record in front of me. Yeah, that's what I have to do next show is just come in with like a big top hat and just freeze frame it for a second or two,
Right. Let's see what, man. We could do it.
What is their record?
Quick, shout out to It's Me on Twitter. We appreciate the like and the retweet. We always love those. Appreciate you. Go ahead. Sorry, man.
Oh, you're good. I'm trying to Google the Pacers record right now
because they're
not. Oh, they're overachieving. I would say they're 4-5.
Yeah, they're right there. They're right on the cusp. I mean, they're They're scoring. They're 8th in points per game. They're middle of the pack in rebounds, middle of the pack free throw percentage, 3-point percentage. Just really kind of across the board, except for defensively, they do lag a bit backwards. And I think that's where the Nuggets are going to get their goat, I guess you could say, is that they are not going to be able to hold down the offensive prowess of the Nuggets. I think they will be able to score. I mean, they got 3 guys. The guys I mentioned, Halliburton, Mathurin, and Hield, are all scoring at least 18 points per game. The lowest of those is Hield at 18, Mathurin is at 21, and Halliburton's at almost 25 points per game. So they are scoring. It's a lot like with Denver. They're scoring. They're just not playing much defense, which is pretty much across the league, like you've been saying for the last couple of weeks. So I think that Indy will be able to put up some points, light up the scoreboard a little bit, but the Nuggets are just going to be a bit too much. Excuse me. But do the Pacers have enough shooters? As I'm saying, do you agree that they have enough shooters to keep up with the Nuggets?
Shooters, I wouldn't say that, but for some reason, everyone likes to turn into a shooter when they play the Nuggets. So I'm not gonna make a comment on that. We don't know. I don't even know who the hell this Mathurin guy is. You know, he might even go off and score 40. So let's not go and make crazy predictions on this team. I know Halliburton is a highly touted young player, came out of Iowa State, and he was a baller there. He's real young. He's real frail, though, for being a point guard. I think Chris Paul might be more chiseled. I would take Chris Paul in that celebrity boxing match. Again, Halliburton towers him by 5 inches. But he's a great young player who can facilitate the offense. You have Miles Turner, who will be disruptive on Nikola Jokic. And he has an offensive game, too. Miles Turner can spread the floor a little bit.
Hey, he's averaging almost 14 points a game, so he's no slouch.
No, not at all. And Buddy Hield is a guy who he seems like he's been in the league longer than he actually has. And he was supposed to have, I believe, more of a better career that he's had so far. He has underachieved a lot. I know a lot of people compared him. Now, this is just, those NBA mock drafts and comparisons, how people get, this is crazy, but they compared him to be, potential at his ceiling to be the next Ray Allen, which is obviously we've never seen nothing near that. I would probably put him more of you remember Kevin Martin from Sacramento?
Kmart.
Yeah, Kevin Martin. He was a nice guy, could shoot the 3, but, that was about it. He didn't really have the best finishing ability or mid-range game. I mean, he did because the ball, had to put a lot of numbers because the ball was in his hand a lot. And that's what Buddy Hield is. They like to put the ball in Hield's hand, which is not a bad player, but he's definitely not the next Ray Allen, what they tried to say about him. But who knows? They're playing the Nuggets. He might turn into Ray Allen that night. So we don't know. This Pacer team, to me, looking at them on paper, are very unpredictable. So we just, I don't really know.
Right. But to go ahead and educate you and the rest of the people here that may not know, Mathurin his name is Benedict Mathurin, wears 00 shooting guard out of Montreal, Canada. He is a lot in the ilk of a Jamal Murray, very understated, humble kind of guy that just kind of does his thing under the radar, doesn't really talk much. Went to Arizona and was drafted in the just this past first round. It was the 6th overall pick in 2022. That's how new this guy is. He is a rookie. He is one of the rookies. Yes, he is in the running for Rookie of the Year. Already averaging over 20 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists per game. So,
is he leading rookies in scoring? 20 a game?
I am not 100% sure, but I will double check. I don't know of any other rookie that's scoring more than 20 points per game. Let's see, NBA.
Oh, Paulo from from Orlando. He's doing some historic stuff right now.
Yes, he's Paulo Banchero.
He's doing stuff MJ and LeBron never did. I mean, it sounds nice, but the team's 2-8, so.
Right, yeah, he's doing nice things.
Let me see.
Because he's with Orlando, right?
Yeah, he's with Orlando.
He was part of them that just took out freaking Golden State in the last seconds. But he actually Benedict is number 2. He's barely behind Paulo. He's less than a point per game. behind Paulo.
Okay.
Paulo is averaging 21.8, while Benedict is averaging 20.7. Now, Paulo's doing a lot more otherwise. Paulo's has almost 8 rebounds per game to Benedict's 4, and 4 assists per game to Benedict's 2. So Paulo's a little bit more well-rounded, but Benedict's right there with him when it comes to scoring.
How crazy is that? Like young potential on that Magic team, though. They've actually been getting production out
Right.
of former Nuggets legend Bol.
Right.
Getting actual, he averaged, I think, at a point like 4 blocks a game.
Yeah, something like. Let me pull up his exact stats for you while you're
I
talking.
think it's went down, small sample size. That's
Yeah,
the new word of the day, small sample size.
yeah, that is definitely the word of today.
Let me see.
I mean, he's still averaging 10.3 points, 7.2 rebounds, and 2 blocks per game. That is what Bol is averaging in Orlando. So yeah, that team, despite their paltry record here early on, they're definitely turning the corner. But speaking of turning the corner, back to my question: Does do these kids have the ability to bring the Pacers back to contention?
Well, why not? Now, if they do move Miles Turner, that is a piece that might hold back a little bit of the process for them.
I will agree
Miles
on
Turner
that.
is one of the better big man in the NBA, rim protectors. I don't know if he's been selected to an All-Star game, but I wouldn't doubt it. He is definitely an All-Star type of player. But if you move him, because I've heard trade talks of one of the Los Angeles Lakers, him being a target for them for their next move, because LA just needs to figure something out. But the Pacers with Miles Turner, and you have Halliburton running that point, a big tall point guard at 6'5". It's a good combination. It's a good personnel group there. You have Buddy Hield, who is a good shooter, not a Ray Allen type shooter, but he is a good shooter. You could get hot, and that ball will be hitting the bottom of the net about every other possession. And now you have Mathurin, who you've schooled me on and put me on game, and he's the second leading scorer for the rookies in this young season. So you will honestly have all the pieces in place to be a playoff team. You have a good big man. You have a point guard who is your true your number one, who runs with the first group. You have your young rookie in Mathurin, and you have a first or second option in Buddy Hield. I think all that the Pacers are missing is a six-man, a bench player who can consistently do what the Nuggets have in Bones Highland. So the Pacers are a few steps away, but I don't think much.
Yeah, I do. I'm with you. I think they might be 1 or 2 pieces away, and I think that if they have any inclinations of moving Miles Turner, they should rethink those, especially with how well they've come out of the blocks. Now, say it gets to the trade deadline and they've just completely just fell out of contention. They're like 20 games back or whatever. Maybe you entertain Miles Turner being traded, but with this core, I think it's just a couple of steps away. This reminds me a lot of the Nuggets from about 4 years ago, where they were just that one little piece away, maybe some defensive pieces like they are now, and then they could be contenders. And I do believe the Pacers they're right there. They're on the cusp. They've made some obviously smart draft picks, some smart acquisitions at the trade deadlines and that have helped revamp this team. This might be the best team that they've had since Reggie. Like I have not seen a team this built since Reggie.
No, you're not putting in the 2013 Pacers with Paul George, Lance Stevenson.
That team wasn't terrible, but I don't think that team could hold a candle to the best of the Reggies.
I mean, they went to the Eastern Conference Finals, though.
Yes, they did, but also in a very, 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 very weak Eastern Conference at that time.
All right.
There's a bit of a caveat there. That was a very, very weak Eastern Conference.
They did. They took, what was it, Lance Stevenson? I think that was the year where he just like kind of blew up out of nowhere. He was like one of those one-hit wonders.
Yes.
And then he went and got paid and played in Charlotte, and after that he just
disappeared.
I mean, he was with the Nuggets, their affiliate minor team, the Gold. I don't know where they're out of. The Grand Rapids Gold or something.
Something like that.
Yeah, he was with them a year ago. So it just shows how bad he completely fell off and how much of his big one-hit wonder
Not
was
even
such a
G
hit, you
League.
know?
We talking about below G League.
Yeah.
But yes, so this and again, I will stand on that hill. I will die on the hill that the Pacers are that close. I just don't think they're quite close enough to beat the Nuggets, and I do believe the Nuggets start off this week 3-0 and beat Indy. This one probably a little bit closer because of the fact that Indy can score the way that they can, and Miles Turner can give Jokic a little bit of an issue. This one I see coming down to 115, 110.
Yeah, I could see it as another high-scoring game. I hate saying that because I want to see this defense lock in
Yes,
and lock down, but I could see it
we
being
all do.
110, 100 in the favor of the Nuggets. This is a week as we should go 3-0. I know I'm not predicting us going 2-1, but don't be surprised if we do to start off the week. Just because playing a team back to back, Spurs here tonight, and you go back to San Antonio to play them, it doesn't always go as planned. Winning both of those games, that team studies you a little more just because they are playing you in back to back regular season games, and they know you are more familiar with you because. I mean, they've been doing for their job the last 48 to 72 hours is playing the same personnel. So don't be surprised if the Spurs figure out a few things within that time frame. Um, but
Yeah, Nuggets could overlook them,
yeah,
especially if they just toast them tonight. They could be like, "Oh, we're just going to squeeze through on Monday." So yes, I'm 100% with you. Oh, be on the lookout. There's a chance that they could go 2-1, but I believe 3-0. Now we're going to spin this up a little bit because there is one more prediction I want us to get in real quick before we let you guys go and enjoy basketball like we're going to go enjoy basketball. There's one more game, Boston Celtics. This is the one that worries me, and I'm just going to go out and say it. I think the Nuggets end up losing this one, and it's going to be a close, nasty one. They're going to lose 125 to 123.
come on, man. This is the Nuggets. This is the team that plays terribly against these bad teams, but unbelievable against the good teams. Come on, it's
True.
always been a thing with them. I like the Nuggets in this one though. Um, it might be a close one. It might go Boston's way. Are they playing in Boston?
I do believe so. I will
Yeah, if
double
they're
check,
playing in
but I'm
Boston.
pretty
I'll
sure.
give them. I'll give Boston. The check and the win box or whatever. But I don't see it being a runaway disaster game where they chew the Nuggets out
No.
and chew the Nuggets and spit them out. And I do think it's going to be a competitive all four quarters, a gritty game, kind of a playoff atmosphere kind of game because the Nuggets haven't really
Yes.
had those big name contenders to face off early on in the season. I mean, who's really been that level of competition for the Nuggets in the first 8 games? Portland, maybe. The Lakers have such a big brand name on them, but they suck.
Golden State, but again,
Yeah,
they've
Golden
been
State is 3-6
terrible.
right now. They're not really Golden State last year. They have a lot of drama going on with Draymond. So I think Golden State will take a while till they actually get back to where they want to be. This is the first game though in
They've
that
been the
Boston
biggest
game.
surprise. Yeah, yeah.
That
Lakers don't
is,
surprise me so much. They're old, geriatric. I knew their shot was going to die eventually.
yeah.
Golden State's been a bit of a surprise. But my major reason for believing the Nuggets are going to end up losing against Boston is because if I'm going to assume that they're going to be 3-0 against San Antonio twice and Indy, and starting Monday, they leave. Well, actually, after tonight, they're going to fly down to San Antonio. They don't come back to Denver until the 14th.
Oh
They're
man.
gone from Monday until the 14th, and they play in San Antonio on Monday, play in Indy on Wednesday, in Boston on Friday, and then in Chicago on Sunday. So they're doing a full East Coast swing. That's what worries me about it on the bot because Boston's right at the end of that swing. You're gonna be wore out, all jet lag, all of those things happening. That's what worries me, and it's in Boston. Eesh. I just feel they gotta in the energy's gotta run out somewhere, and I just assume it's going to be in Boston. Um, but with all that being said, those are our previews for the week. That's all the games that'll be happening before you see us again next Saturday. I'm going to go ahead and get us out of here because I know anybody that's here watching is going to want to get to the game instead of listen to us to sit here and spitball
Huh.
about things any longer. But it has definitely been a blast. Thanks, my guys, always being here with us to talk Nuggets. I am your host, Dan Westheim, for the Nug Life podcast. That is my co-host, Santiago Salazar. Make sure you follow him at Amato is Balling. Excuse me. And follow us all All the links are down in the description. Our Twitter's right here, right down underneath me. Make sure you follow us. We're at almost 5,000 now, guys. We're at over 4,700 followers on Twitter. Let's keep that going. Screw Musk. Screw all the other BS that's going on around there. Let's just build our own community. Have fun. Hit the like buttons, subscribes, all those. And for the answer is 42. As you always know, don't question the blue.